You've almost certainly heard of Stephen Covey's classic, The 7 Habits of Highly Effective People. But let me tell you, it is so much more than just another self-help book. This isn't just a list of tips. What we're going to dive into is a total blueprint for personal transformation, and it's all built on one single powerful idea. Real change starts from the inside and works its way out.
And Covey just drops this bomb on you right at the beginning. I mean, think about it. We spend so much of our lives trying to fix our problems, right? Our jobs, our relationships, our stress levels. But what if? What if we're looking at it all wrong? What if the real issue isn't the problem itself, but the very lens we're using to see it?
And that brings us to this really crucial difference he talks about. See, for a long time, a lot of success books have been focused on what he calls the personality ethic. Stuff like communication techniques, having a positive mental attitude. They're like social band-aids. They might help in the short term. But real, lasting success, that comes from the character ethic. Things like integrity, humility, courage. That's not a band-aid. That's the actual foundation you build your life on.
To understand that, we have to talk about paradigms. So what's a paradigm? Well, it's basically your personal map of reality. It's not the world itself, just your interpretation of it. The thing is, we all have these maps. But what happens when your map is for Detroit, but you're actually trying to find your way around Chicago? You're going to get pretty lost, right? That's why we have to constantly check if our maps are actually accurate.
This is a perfect example. Just look at this image for a second. What do you see? Do you see a young woman looking away, or do you see an old woman in profile? You see, the image is just a bunch of lines on a page, but what you perceive is created by your brain, by your conditioning. It's a powerful, immediate reminder that what we call reality is often just our personal paradigm at work. Covey tells this incredible story. He's on a subway and he's getting more and more irritated with this man whose kids are just running wild, being loud and disruptive. So finally he says something to the dad. And the man, looking up as if from a daze, says this. And in that one single instant, everything changed. Covey's irritation completely vanished, and it was replaced with this wave of compassion. A tiny bit of new information created a massive paradigm shift.
So all of this leads us to the first major phase of growth, what Covey calls the private victory. This is the journey from being dependent on others and our circumstances to becoming truly independent and mastering ourselves. You have to win the battle inside before you can ever hope to build effective relationships on the outside. Now, to really get to the heart of the very first habit, we have to go to one of the most extreme places imaginable. We're talking about Viktor Frankl, a psychiatrist who survived the absolute horrors of the Nazi concentration camps, a place where he lost almost his entire family. And it was there, in the midst of unimaginable suffering, that Frankl discovered something profound. His captors could control everything about his environment. They could control his body. But there was one thing they could never touch: his response. He realized that in that tiny space between what happens to us, the stimulus, and how we react to it, that's where our greatest power lies, the freedom to choose. And this idea is captured perfectly in the proactive model. You can see it right here. In that gap between stimulus and response, that's where we get to use these incredible human gifts we have: self-awareness, imagination, conscience, and our own independent will to decide what we're going to do. And that right there is the core of habit 1. Be proactive. Now, a lot of us think proactive just means taking initiative, being a go-getter, but it's so much deeper than that. Being proactive means taking full responsibility. It's the understanding that we are the ones in charge of our lives. Our behavior is a product of our decisions, not our conditions. And here's an amazing practical tool for this. We all have a huge circle of concern. It's filled with all the things we worry about: the economy, politics, what other people think. But proactive people, they focus their time and energy on that smaller circle of influence, the things they can actually do something about. And the cool part is, the more they work in that circle, the bigger it gets. Okay, so once you've achieved that private victory, once you're truly independent and in the driver's seat of your own life, then you're ready for the next stage, the public victory. This is where we make the shift from I to we. It's about moving from self-mastery to building those rich, lasting, and super effective relationships. This is interdependence.
This analogy from the book is just perfect. I mean, imagine it. You go to the eye doctor and without even checking your vision, he just takes off his own glasses and says, "Here, try these." You'd think he was absolutely nuts, right?
And yet, we do this all the time. We jump in with our own solutions and advice before we've ever taken the time to truly diagnose the problem. It's a powerful lesson in why we have to seek first to understand.
And this is so critical to remember. You cannot skip steps here. You can't just jump to having great relationships. Effective interdependence, that we mindset, can only be built on a solid foundation of your own independence. The private victories always have to come before the public ones. That's the inside-out approach in a nutshell.
So let's look at habit 4. Think win-win. This little matrix breaks it down perfectly. See, win-win isn't just about being nice or being a pushover. A real win-win solution requires a balance of two things: high courage to speak up for what you need, and high consideration for what the other person needs. That top right quadrant, that's the sweet spot where everyone truly benefits. The thing is, most of us are programmed to think in these other ways. Win-loss is super competitive, right? For me to win, you have to lose. And lose-win, well, that's basically being a doormat. But what Covey argues is that in any long-term relationship, anything other than a true win-win is actually a loss for everybody, because it ends up eroding trust and damaging the relationship itself.
All right, so you've put in the work, you've got your private victories, you're working on your public victories. So what's next? How do you keep all this going for the long haul without just completely burning out? Well, that brings us to the final habit, and it's the one that makes all the others possible: renewal. And the metaphor for this one is so simple but so profound. Imagine a woodcutter who's been sawing down a tree for hours and hours, and he's exhausted. Someone comes along and says, "Hey, why don't you take a break and sharpen your saw?" And the woodcutter replies, "I can't, I'm too busy sawing." Sound familiar? We are all that woodcutter. Habit 7 is about taking the time to sharpen the saw.
So what does sharpening the saw actually mean for us? It means we have to consistently take care of ourselves in these 4 key areas: the physical, the spiritual, the mental, and the social/emotional. It's all about preserving and even enhancing the single most important asset you will ever have, which is you. Let's make this super practical. For your physical dimension, that's exercise, good nutrition, getting enough sleep. Spiritually, it's about connecting to your core values, maybe through meditation or spending time in nature. Mentally, it's about keeping your mind sharp, reading, learning, planning. And social/emotionally, it's about investing in your key relationships. You need that balance across all 4 to stay effective. And here it is, the whole shebang. This diagram really brings it all together. You see the clear progression. You start at dependence, and through the private victory of habits 1, 2, and 3, you achieve independence. Then, from that strong foundation, you move to independence with the public victory of habits 4, 5, and 6. And what's holding it all together, making it all possible? Habit 7, sharpen the saw, constantly renewing every part of the system. So if you walk away with just one thing from all of this, let it be this: real, lasting effectiveness isn't a trick. It's not a hack. It's not a quick fix. It is a deep transformation that absolutely has to start from the inside, with your character, and then work its way out into your behaviors and relationships. And I want to leave you with this powerful thought from Covey. He said we should live our lives in a crescendo, meaning our greatest contributions, our most important work, is always still to come. It's about never stopping, always learning, always growing, and always contributing. And that, of course, brings it all right back to you. Right now, after hearing all this, what's just one small, proactive thing you can do today, something that's completely inside your circle of influence, to start your own inside-out journey?